She texts back, but she never texts first. She stays around, but she never steps up. And somewhere deep inside, you already know what that means. You just don't want to face it yet. Most men tell themselves stories to avoid the truth. Maybe she's busy. Maybe she's shy. Maybe she's testing me. But here's what no one will tell you. Her silence isn't confusion. It's a decision. And every time you reach out first, you're making a decision too. You're deciding that your attention has no price, that your effort requires no effort back, that you'll keep pouring into someone who won't even reach for the glass. This isn't about her anymore. This is about you, about the pattern you keep repeating, about the man you're becoming when you accept less than you deserve. Today, you're going to see 8 psychological realities that most men never face. Not because they're complicated, but because they're uncomfortable. And if you can sit with that discomfort for the next 15 minutes, you won't just understand her behavior. You'll understand why you've been tolerating it. Number 1, stop rewarding her silence. Let's start with something most men never admit to themselves. You're training her. Every single day, you wake up, you check your phone. Nothing from her. Your chest tightens. So you decide to break the silence yourself. Good morning. She replies hours later. 1 word, maybe 2, and you tell yourself at least she responded. But what you don't see is the pattern you just reinforced. You taught her that she doesn't need to try, that your attention arrives on schedule, that she can sit back and receive without giving. Think about it like this. If someone handed you money every morning just for existing, would you ever go out and earn it yourself? No, because you don't have to. She's doing the same thing with your attention. She's learned that it's free, always available, always waiting. And the more you compensate for her silence, the more you confirm that she never has to change. Human beings don't value what they don't work for. That's not cruelty. That's psychology. When something is always there, it stops feeling rare. When something demands nothing, it earns nothing back. Your presence has become background noise in her life. Not because you're not valuable, but because you made yourself too easy to take for granted. Here's the shift. Stop covering her silence with your effort. Don't text because the quiet makes you uncomfortable. Don't call because you're afraid she'll forget you. Let the space exist. Let her feel what it's like when you're not there to fill every gap. You're not punishing her. You're protecting your own value. You're allowing silence to do what it's supposed to do. Reveal the truth. Because here's what most men never realize. Silence only becomes loud when you stop drowning it out. When you stop rushing in to fix it, it starts to mean something. It starts to show whether she'll step forward or whether she was always fine letting you do all the work. Stop rewarding her for doing nothing. Your attention isn't charity. Number 2, match her energy, not your desperation. Most men don't lose women because they care too much. They lose them because the balance tips too far. One person is sprinting, the other is barely moving. And instead of slowing down, the man keeps running harder, thinking effort will inspire effort. It doesn't. It creates pressure, and pressure doesn't pull women closer. It makes them pull away. Picture this. You send 4 texts throughout the day, updates, jokes, little check-ins. She replies once, maybe twice if you're lucky. Short answers, no questions back, no real engagement. But instead of seeing the imbalance, you convince yourself you just need to stay consistent. Show her you're different. Prove you care. So you keep going. And every time you do, you're not building connection. You're building desperation. Women feel this. They sense when a man is pursuing from confidence and when he's pursuing from fear. Fear that if he stops, she'll disappear. Fear that he's not enough unless he's constantly proving it. And that fear kills attraction faster than anything else. Because neediness isn't love. It's insecurity wearing a mask. Connection isn't one person carrying all the weight. It's movement meeting movement. Rhythm meeting rhythm. When you're the only one dancing, it's not a partnership anymore. It's you dragging someone across the floor hoping they'll eventually join in. That's what happens when your effort is 10 and hers is 2. It stops being connection. It becomes emotional labor. Here's the adjustment. Mirror her investment. If she texts with intention, meet her there. If she calls and makes plans, match that energy. But if she goes quiet, you don't break the silence to keep the illusion alive. You let her absence speak. You let her lack of effort reveal itself. Not because you're playing games, but because you're standing in your own dignity. You're letting her show you who she really is without you carrying the entire weight of pretending. When you stop overcompensating, something changes. If she's genuinely interested, she'll lean in. She'll start meeting you halfway. But if she's not, her low investment becomes impossible to ignore. And that clarity isn't a loss. It's a gift, because you stop wasting time on someone who is never going to meet you where you are. Match her energy, not to manipulate her, but to respect yourself. Number 3, reclaim your emotional control. There's a moment most men know too well. You hit send on a message, then you wait. You check your phone every few minutes. You tell yourself you're not anxious, but your mood depends entirely on whether that gray bubble appears. If she responds fast, you feel relief. If she takes hours or doesn't reply at all, your chest drops. Your focus breaks. Your entire emotional state shifts. And right there, in that moment, you've handed her control. Control over your peace, your confidence, your sense of stability. Your emotions are no longer yours. They're tied to her timing, regulated by her attention, owned by her silence. And here's what destroys men. Women feel this shift. They sense the anxiety behind your messages. The unspoken hope that she'll validate you with a few typed words. And the moment she realizes that her approval is the center of your emotional world, attraction dies. Not because she's cruel, but because dependence never looks like strength. Picture a man sitting at his desk pretending to focus. His phone lights up, just a notification from an app. Not her. His heart sinks. He puts the phone down. 2 minutes later, he picks it up again. He tells himself he's just checking something, but really he's checking her. He's waiting, hoping, obsessing. And the worst part? He knows it. He knows he's losing control, but he can't stop. Here's the truth you need to hear. Her reply is information, not validation. It tells you how invested she is, not how valuable you are. The moment you separate those two things, everything changes. You stop obsessing. You stop refreshing. You stop letting a notification dictate your mood. You redirect your focus back to yourself, your work, your body, your goals, your life. When you stop giving her emotional control, something powerful happens. You stand taller. You move slower. You think clearer. And ironically, that's when women start to notice you differently. Because you're no longer the man pacing around his phone waiting for her to respond. You're the man grounded in himself, unbothered by silence, unattached to outcome, untouchable. Control your emotions, or they will control how she sees you. Number 4, let absence create the clarity words never will. Most men think they lose a woman by pulling back. The truth is the opposite. They lose her because they never do. When you're always available, always texting, always there like an emotional safety net, she never gets the chance to feel your presence. And if she can't feel your presence, she'll never feel your absence. Without absence, there's no contrast. Without contrast, there's no value. Think about your favorite meal. If you ate it every single day, it would stop hitting the same. Not because the food changed, but because the frequency killed its specialness. The same thing happens with attention. Overexposure dulls desire. Constant availability erases appreciation. Imagine a man who floods a woman with messages, constant updates, constant reassurance, constant check-ins. He thinks he's building closeness, but what he's really doing is suffocating the space, leaving her no room to reach back, no room to wonder, no room to miss him. She doesn't have time to crave his presence because he never gives her the chance to notice he's gone. Absence works because it creates clarity. When you stop over-delivering, her real level of interest rises to the surface. If she values you, she'll move toward you. She'll check in. She'll initiate. She'll step into the space you created. But if she doesn't, her silence will grow. Not because you caused it, but because you finally stopped covering it up. Letting absence do the work isn't manipulation. It's freedom. You're not threatening her with withdrawal. You're returning to a healthy baseline where your energy isn't poured into someone who pours nothing back. You're stepping out of the role of the man who always tries and into the role of the man who observes effort. And here's what happens next. When you stop flooding her with attention, she starts to feel something shift inside herself. She notices the missing good morning text. She wonders why you're not as available. She feels the difference. Not because you punished her, but because you stopped cushioning her lack of investment. Absence doesn't push the right woman away. It reveals her. It shows you whether she cares enough to meet you in the middle or whether she was only comfortable when you did all the work. She can't miss what never leaves. Give her something to miss. Number 5. Test her interest with strategic distance. Here's where most men get stuck. She never initiates, but she always responds. Not with energy, not with effort, just enough to keep you guessing, enough to keep you hoping. And because she doesn't fully disappear, you convince yourself there's something there. So you keep carrying the momentum. You keep being the one who reaches out, who starts conversations, who makes plans. And the whole time, you're wondering if she's actually interested or just entertained. This is where you need clarity. When someone gives you mixed signals, the worst thing you can do is keep filling the gaps for them. Because as long as you compensate for her low effort, you'll never know her real level of investment. She doesn't need to show it. You've made the connection too easy to coast on. Picture this. A man sends the same good morning text every day. It's part of her routine now. Some days she responds. Some days she doesn't. Some days she replies hours later with something dry and emotionless. And yet, he keeps doing it because he's afraid that if he stops, she'll drift away. But here's what he doesn't see. If something fades the moment you stop carrying it, it was never real to begin with. Testing her interest doesn't mean playing games. It means creating space for her to show up. It means removing yourself just enough to see what happens when you're not doing all the work. Stop being the first to text. Stop being the one who always follows up. Stop being the only person investing energy into this. Step back. Not dramatically, not with attitude, just with intention. Then observe. Does she close the distance? Does she notice the shift? Does she reach out? Ask about you? Check on you? Or does she let the silence sit like it costs her nothing? The beauty of this approach is that it exposes the truth without confrontation. Her actions answer the question you keep avoiding. If she cares, she'll show it. If she doesn't, she'll stay quiet. And that silence is your answer, not your failure. You're not losing her. You're losing the illusion that she was ever invested. If the connection only exists when you carry it, you're not in a relationship. You're in a performance. Let her actions reveal what her words never will. Number 6. Stop building fantasies around potential. There's a dangerous trap most men fall into. They don't fall for who she is. They fall for who she could be. They see glimpses of interest, moments of warmth, occasional effort, and they build an entire fantasy around that potential. They tell themselves, if I just give her more time, if I just stay consistent, if I just prove myself, she'll eventually become the woman I see in my head. But here's the brutal truth. Potential is not reality. Potential is a story you're telling yourself to avoid facing what's actually in front of you. A woman who shows you inconsistency, low effort, and minimal investment today will likely show you the same thing tomorrow. Not because she's incapable of more, but because with you, she's chosen not to give it. Think about the man who stays in a situation for months, even years, waiting for her to change. Waiting for her to wake up and realize his value. Waiting for her to suddenly start initiating, planning, investing. He keeps holding on because he remembers that one time she seemed excited. That one conversation where she opened up. That one moment where it felt real. And he convinces himself that version of her is the real one, buried underneath, waiting to emerge. But what he's actually doing is rejecting reality. He's choosing fantasy over truth. He's building his hopes on exceptions instead of patterns. And while he's waiting for her potential to materialize, he's wasting his actual time, energy, and emotional capacity on someone who isn't meeting him in the present. Here's what you need to understand. People show you who they are through consistent behavior, not occasional highlights. If her effort is inconsistent, believe the inconsistency. If her interest seems conditional, believe the conditions. If she only shows up when it's convenient for her, believe the convenience. Stop giving her credit for the woman you hope she'll become and start seeing her for the woman she's showing you she is right now. The right woman doesn't require you to wait for her potential. She shows up in her fullness from the beginning. She doesn't make you guess. She doesn't leave you analyzing mixed signals. She doesn't need time to figure out if you're worth her effort. Stop investing in potential and start demanding presence. Number 7. Understand that her low effort is information, not a challenge. Most men make a critical mistake when they encounter a woman's low investment. They see it as a challenge to overcome, something they need to work harder to fix, a problem they need to solve through more effort, more patience, more understanding. They think if she's not investing now, it's because they haven't done enough yet to earn it. This mindset is poison because it turns you into someone who's constantly trying to prove their worth. Someone who's auditioning for a role that should already be yours. Someone who's convinced that love and interest are things you have to earn through performance rather than things that exist naturally when the connection is real. Here's what you're missing. Her low effort isn't a riddle. It's not a test. It's not a barrier you need to break through. It's information. Clear, direct information about how she sees you, how she values you, and what priority you hold in her life. When a woman is genuinely interested, she doesn't make you work for basic reciprocity. She doesn't force you to carry the entire weight of the connection. She shows up naturally because she wants to, not because you finally did enough to convince her. Think about the women in your past who were truly into you. Did you have to strategize to get them to text you back? Did you have to wonder whether they cared? Did you have to perform emotional gymnastics just to receive basic attention? No, because when interest is real, effort is natural. When attraction is genuine, reciprocity flows without force. So when you encounter a woman who gives you breadcrumbs, who responds but never initiates, who stays around but never steps forward, don't see it as a challenge. See it as clarity. She's telling you exactly where you stand. She's showing you that with her, connection requires constant work from you and minimal investment from her. And that dynamic will never change through more effort on your part. It will only change when you stop accepting it. Her low effort isn't something to overcome. It's something to acknowledge and walk away from. Stop trying to earn what should be freely given. The right woman won't make you work for her attention. She'll give it because your presence alone is enough. Number 8. Raise your standards or lose your self-respect. We've reached the core. The real issue. It's not her silence anymore. It's not her inconsistency. It's not her lack of effort. It's the standards you've allowed yourself to settle for. When you keep holding on to a woman who gives you nothing back, you're not acting out of love. You're acting out of fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of starting over. Fear that this might be the best you can get. And those fears quietly convince you to accept crumbs and call it connection. They make you tolerate behavior you know is unacceptable. They keep you in situations that drain you while telling yourself you're just being patient, understanding, mature. But patience without reciprocity isn't strength. It's self-abandonment. Picture a man who keeps a woman in his life even though her investment is zero. She doesn't initiate. She doesn't plan. She doesn't show excitement. But she responds just enough to keep him around. He tells himself maybe she just needs time. Maybe she's bad at texting. Maybe she's going through something. He builds explanations to protect his hope instead of protecting his self-respect. And because he's afraid of losing her, he never asks what he's losing by keeping her. His peace, his confidence, his time, his emotional energy, his opportunity to meet someone who actually values him. He's so focused on holding on as someone who barely holds him that he can't see the cost of his own compromise. Here's the truth most men avoid. A man without standards becomes a man without options. When you tolerate neglect, You train yourself to believe this is all you deserve. You shrink your world to fit her indifference. You lower your expectations to match her minimal output. And the longer you stay in that dynamic, the more you convince yourself that her bare minimum is a privilege instead of an insult. Raising your standards isn't about becoming harsh or demanding. It's about becoming honest with yourself. It's acknowledging when someone isn't meeting you halfway. It's recognizing when you're the only one investing. It's accepting when the connection is only alive because you keep giving it CPR. And instead of clinging to potential, it's choosing to value your peace more than the fantasy you're holding on to. Your standards are the filter that determines who gets access to you. When you raise them, something powerful happens. The wrong women fall away naturally, and the right ones step forward effortlessly. Women who genuinely value you don't make you guess. They don't leave you hanging. They don't ask you to prove your worth through endless effort. They bring reciprocity naturally because they see your value immediately. Your worth isn't measured by how long you can hold on to someone who doesn't value you. It's measured by how willing you are to walk away when you're not valued. A woman shouldn't have to be convinced to care. She shouldn't need to be chased into investing. And you shouldn't build your identity around someone who barely shows up. If she brings nothing, she gets nothing. Not out of revenge, but out of respect. Self-respect. When you raise your standards, you don't lose women. You lose the wrong ones. And that's not a loss. That's liberation. You've just walked through territory most men never enter. Because it forces you to confront the part of yourself that would rather chase silence than choose self-respect. And if you're still here, you're already different from the man who used to sit by his phone waiting for a message that never came. This was never about fixing her. It was about understanding yourself. You've seen what happens when you stop rewarding silence. When you match her energy instead of drowning in yours. When you take back control of emotions you gave away too easily. You've seen how absence creates clarity. How testing effort reveals truth. How potential is a trap. How low effort is information. And why your standards aren't just guidelines. They're the foundation of everything. The point isn't to win her back. It's to win yourself back. Because the moment you stop letting someone else's inconsistency dictate your confidence, you become a different kind of man. The kind who doesn't beg for space. Who doesn't audition for attention. Who doesn't mistake crumbs for connection. You become the man who understands that value isn't something you chase. It's something you embody. Her silence no longer threatens you. It informs you. It tells you where she stands so you can decide where you stand. You stop trying to fix what was never mutual. You stop clinging to potential and start choosing reality. And in that reality, you see that the right woman doesn't need to be convinced to care. She shows it naturally, consistently, willingly. You're not here to beg for space in someone's life. You're here to show up as a man who knows his worth. Her effort doesn't define your value. Your standards do. And if what you heard today made you pause, good. That pause is growth. That pause is awareness. And that awareness is the first step toward becoming the man you were always supposed to be. Subscribe to Stoic 95